The Birthplace by Robert Frost. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. Here, further up the mountain slope than there was ever any hope, my father built, enclosed a spring, strung chains of wall around everything, subdued the growth of earth to grass, and brought our various lives to pass. 12 girls and boys we were. The mountain seemed to like the stir and made of us a little while, with always something in her smile. Today she wouldn't know our name. No girls, of course, has stayed the same. The mountain pushed us off her knees, and now her lap is full of trees. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Dedication for Don Juan by George Gordon, Lord Byron. Read for LibriVox.org by Alan Mapstone. Bob Southey, you're a poet, poet laureate, and representative of all the race. Although 'tis true that you turned out a Tory at last, yours has lately been a common case. And now, my epic renegade, what are ye at, with all the Lakers in and out of place? A nest of tuneful persons to my eye, like 24 blackbirds in a pie. Which pie being opened, they began to sing, this old song and new simile holds good, a dainty dish to set before the king, or regent, who admires such kind of food. And Coleridge too has lately taken wing, but like a hawk encumbered with his hood, explaining metaphysics to the nation. I wish he would explain his explanation. You, Bob, are rather insolent, you know, at being disappointed in your wish to supersede all warblers here below, and be the only blackbird in the dish. And then you overstrain yourself or so, and tumble downward like the flying fish, gasping on deck because you soar too high, Bob, and fall for lack of moisture, quite a dry Bob. And Wordsworth, in a rather long excursion, I think the quarto holds 500 pages, has given a sample from the vasty version of his new system to perplex the sages. 'Tis poetry, at least by his assertion, and may appear so when the dog-star rages, and he who understands it would be able to add a story to the Tower of Babel. You gentlemen, by dint of long seclusion from better company, have kept your own at Keswick, and through still continued fusion of one another's minds at last have grown to deem as a most logical conclusion that poesy has wreaths for you alone. There is a narrowness in such a notion which makes me wish you'd change your lakes for ocean. I would not imitate the petty thought, nor coin my self-love to so base a vice, for all the glory your conversion brought, since gold alone should not have been its price. You have your salary, was't for that you wrought? And Wordsworth has his place in the excise. You're shabby fellows, true, but poets still, and duly seated on the immortal hill. Your bays may hide the boldness of your brows, perhaps some virtuous blushes, let them go. To you I envy neither fruit nor boughs, and for the fame you would engross below, the field is universal, and allows scope to all such as feel the inherent glow. Scott, Rogers, Campbell, Moore, and Crabbe will try 'gainst you the question with posterity. For me, who wandering with pedestrian muses, contend not with you on the winged steed, I wish your fate may yield ye, when she chooses, the fame you envy and the skill you need. And recollect, a poet nothing loses in giving to his brethren their full meed of merit, and complaint of present days is not the certain path to future praise. He that reserves his laurels for posterity, who does not often claim the bright reversion, has generally no great crop to spare it, he being only injured by his own assertion. And although here and there some glorious rarity arise like Titan from the sea's immersion, the major part of such appellants go to God knows where, for no one else can know. If fallen in evil days on evil tongues, Milton appealed to the avenger Time, if Time the avenger execrates his wrongs, and makes the word Miltonic mean sublime, he deigned not to belie his soul in songs, nor turn his very talent to a crime. He did not loathe the sire to laud the son, but closed the tyrant hater he begun. Think'st thou, could he, the blind old man, arise, like Samuel from the grave, to freeze once more the blood of monarchs with his prophecies, or be alive again all hoar, with time and trials, and those helpless eyes, and heartless daughters, worn and pale and poor? Would he adore a sultan? He obey the intellectual eunuch, Castlereagh? Cold-blooded, smooth-faced, placid miscreant, dabbling its sleek young hands in Erin's gore, and thus for wider carnage taught to pant, transferred to gorge upon a sister's shore. The vulgarest tool that tyranny could want, with just enough of talent and no more, to lengthen fetters by another fixed, and offer poison long already mixed. An orator of such set trash of phrase, ineffably, legitimately vile, that even its grossest flatterers dare not praise, nor foes all nations condescend to smile. Not even a sprightly blunder's spark can blaze from that Ixion grindstone's ceaseless toil, that turns and turns to give the world a notion of endless torments and perpetual motion. A bungler even in its disgusting trade, and botching, patching, leaving still behind something of which its masters are afraid, states to be curbed and thoughts to be confined, conspiracy or congress to be made, cobbling at manacles for all mankind, a tinkering slave-maker who mends old chains, with God and man's abhorrence for its gains. If we may judge of matter by the mind, emasculated to the marrow, it hath but two objects, how to serve and bind, deeming the chain it wears even men may fit. Eutropius of its many masters blind, to worth as freedom, wisdom as to wit. Fearless because no feeling dwells in ice, its very courage stagnates to a vice. Where shall I turn me not to view its bonds? For I will never feel them. Italy, thy late reviving Roman soul desponds beneath the lie this state thing breathed o'er thee. Thy clanking chain and Erin's yet green wounds have voices, tongues to cry aloud for me. Europe has slaves, allies, kings, armies still, and Southey lives to sing them very ill. Meantime, Sir Laureate, I proceed to dedicate, in honest simple verse, this song to you, and if in flattering strains I do not predicate, 'tis that I still retain my buff and blue, my politics as yet are all to educate. Apostasies so fashionable too, to keep one creed's a task grown quite Herculean, is it not so, my Tory ultra Julian? End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
An Easter Carol by Christina Rossetti. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Spring bursts today, for Christ is risen, and all the earth's at play. Flash forth, thou sun, the rain is over and gone, its work is done. Winter is past, sweet spring is come at last, is come at last. Bud, fig and vine, bud, olive, fat with fruit and oil and wine. Break forth this morn in roses, thou but yesterday a thorn. Uplift thy head, O pure white lily, through the winter dead. Beside your dams leap and rejoice, you merry making lambs. All herds and flocks rejoice, all beasts of thickets and of rocks. Sing, creatures, sing, angels and men and birds and everything. All notes of doves fill all our world. This is the time of loves. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The End of the World by Stanton A. Coblentz. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Silence and arctic night. A globe that whirls through universal darkness. Mountain slopes with glacier bandages for cavernous gashes. Valleys where snow is heaped eternally in changeless blackness. Lakes and seas whose waves are crystallized to icebergs. Far and near a charnel stillness. In the field no beast, and in the air no bird. No chirp of cricket, no song of nightingale, nor even death cry of deer or wolf or dove. Darkness and death. Then through the fog the shadowy whirling shapes of other frozen worlds that phantom-like glide as a leopard glides to snatch its prey. A glare of jagged white, a lightning flash that rips the night to shreds. Darkness again, then long-drawn thunder crashes, then a flare of luminous red that spreads with rocket swiftness, spilling the sky with spray of crimson lights. More thunderings. The redness sways and trembles, then belches forth in loud volcanic spirals, white and sun-dazzling. all the heavens broil, swirling as seas of light, in which is melted that speck the earth. Of all man's loves and hates, his hopes and dreams and sorrows, there is left only a sea of vapor in the night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Epitaph by Dorothy Parker. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. Epitaph. The first time I died, I walked my ways. I followed the file of limping days. I held me tall, with my head flung up, but I dared not look on the new moon's cup. I dared not look on the sweet young rain, and between my ribs was a gleaming pain. The next time I died, they laid me deep. They spoke worn words to hallow my sleep. They tossed me petals, they wreathed me fern, they weighed me down with a marble urn. And I lie here warm, and I lie here dry, and watch the worms slip by, slip by. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain. False Friends by Dorothy Parker. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. False Friends. They laid their hands upon my head, they struck my cheek and brow, and time could heal a hurt, they said, and time could dim a vow. And they were pitiful and mild, who whispered to me then, the heart that breaks in April, child, will mend in May again. Oh, many a mended heart they knew, so old they were and wise, and little did they have to do to come to me with lies. Who flings me silky talk of May shall meet a bitter soul, for June was nearly spent away before my heart was whole. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Freedom of the Moon by Robert Frost. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. I've tried the new moon tilted in the air above a hazy tree and farmhouse cluster, as you might try a jewel in your hair. I've tried it fine with little breadth of luster, alone or in one ornament, combining with one first water star almost as shining. I put it shining anywhere I please. By walking slowly on some evening later, I've pulled it from a crate of crooked trees and brought it over glossy water greater, and dropped it in, and seen the image wallow, the color run, all sorts of wonder follow. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Good Friday by Christina Rossetti. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. Am I a stone, and not a sheep, that I can stand, O Christ, beneath thy cross, to number drop by drop thy blood's slow loss, and yet not weep? Not so those women loved, who with exceeding grief lamented thee. Not so fallen Peter, weeping bitterly. Not so the thief was moved. Not so the sun and moon, which hid their faces in a starless sky, a horror of great darkness at broad noon. I, only I, yet give not o'er, but seek thy sheep, true shepherd of the flock. Greater than Moses, turn and look once more, and smite the rock. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Here is a place where loveliness keeps house, by Madison Cawein. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Scher. Here is the place where loveliness keeps house, between the river and the wooded hills, within a valley where springtime spills her firstling windflowers under blossoming boughs, where summer sits braiding her warm white brows with bramble roses, and where autumn fills her lap with asters, and old winter frills with crimson haw and hip his snowy blouse. Here you may meet with beauty. Here she sits, gazing upon the moon, or all the day turning a wood-thrush flute, remote, unseen. Or when the storm is out, 'tis she who flits from rock to rock, a form of flying spray, shouting between the leaves' tumultuous green. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hope by John Reed. Read for LibriVox.org by Patrick Randall. She touched me in my sorrow. I awoke. Her kind hands broke the fetters of my grief. The light of smiles shone round me as she spoke. I come, my friend, to bring thee sweet relief. Of those that minister, I am the chief to man's sick heart. I made the tears of Eve bright with the hues of heaven, when loath to leave the joys her disobedience made so brief. I sailed with Noah o'er the buried earth. I sat with Hagar by the new-found well. I solaced Joseph in his lonely cell. I filled sad David's soul with songs of mirth. Much more she whispered, till my heart grew bright, and sorrow vanished, as at dawn the night. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Hymn of Joy by Henry Van Dyke. Read for LibriVox.org by Larry Wilson. To the music of Beethoven's Ninth Symphony. Joyful, joyful we adore thee, God of glory, Lord of love. Hearts unfold like flowers before thee, praising thee, their Son above. Melt the clouds of sin and sadness, drive the dark of doubt away. Giver of immortal gladness, fill us with the light of day. All thy works with joy surround thee, earth and heaven reflect thy rays. Stars and angels sing around thee, centre of unbroken praise. Field and forest, vale and mountain, blooming meadow, flashing sea, chanting bird and flowing fountain, call us to rejoice in thee. Thou art giving and forgiving, ever blessing, ever blest, wellspring of the joy of living, ocean depth of happy rest. Thou our Father, Christ our brother, all who live in love are thine. Teach us how to love each other, lift us to the joy divine. Mortals join the mighty chorus, which the morning stars began. Father love is reigning o'er us, brother love binds man to man. Ever singing march we onward, victors in the midst of strife. Joyful music lifts us sunward in the triumph song of life. 1908. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
It is the Quiet Hour by John Reed. Read for LibriVox.org by Patrick Randall. It is the quiet hour, when weary day whispers adieu in his dark sister's ear, and my lone soul is wandering away to blissful scenes that are no longer near. And well-known faces seem to smile again, and voices long unheard sound blithe and gay, as when of yore, a happy, careless train, we plucked the flowers that grew by life's young way, sweet flowers, destined to a swift decay, bright faces that on earth have smiled your last, gay voices that have ceased to sing the lay that rose spontaneous in the joyous past. Memory's own stars, amid my night of pain, shine out and tell me love is not in vain. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Lazy Hours by Thomas Stanley. Read for LibriVox.org by Public Domain Scholar. The Lazy Hours. The lazy hours move slow, the minutes stay. Old time with leaden feet doth go, and his light wings have cast away. The slow-paced spheres above have sure released their guardians, and without help move, whilst that very angels rest. The numbered sands that slide through this small glass, and into minutes time divide. Too slow each other do displace, the tedious wheels of light, no faster chime than that dull shade which waits on night, for expectation outruns time. How long, Lord, must I stay? How long dwell here? O free me from this loathed clay. Let me no more these fetters wear. With far more joy shall I resign my breath, for to my grieved soul not to die is every minute a new death. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Logical Vegetarian by G.K. Chesterton. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Why shouldn't I have a purely vegetarian drink? Why shouldn't I take vegetables in their highest form, so to speak? The modest vegetarians ought obviously to stick to wine or beer, plain vegetarian drinks, instead of filling their goblets with the blood of bulls and elephants, as all conventional meat-eaters do, I suppose. Dalroy. You will find me drinking rum like a sailor in a slum. You will find me drinking beer like a Bavarian. You will find me drinking gin in the lowest kind of inn, because I am a rigid vegetarian. So I cleared the inn of wine, and I tried to climb the sign, and I tried to hail the constable as Marion. But he said I couldn't speak, and he bowled me to the beak, because I was a happy vegetarian. Oh, I knew a Dr. Gluck, and his nose it had a hook, and his attitudes were anything but Aryan. So I gave him all the pork that I had upon a fork, because I am myself a vegetarian. I am silent in the club, I am silent in the pub, I am silent on a bally peak in Darien, for I stuff away for life, shoving peas in with a knife, because I am at heart a vegetarian. No more the milk of cows shall pollute my private house than the milk of the wild mares of the barbarian. I will stick to port and sherry, for they are so very, very, so very, very, very vegetarian. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Mary Magdalene by Henry Adby. Read for LibriVox.org by Kelly Taylor. All night I cried in agony of grief and bitter loss, and wept for him who they had nailed against the shameful cross. But in the morning, in the dark, before the east was gray, I hastened to the sepulchre wherein the body lay. The stone was rolled away, I found, and filled with fear and woe, I straight to his disciples ran, thereof to let them know. I said, the body of the Lord is not within the tomb, for they have taken him away, unnoticed in the gloom. Where have they laid him? Who can tell? Alas, we know not where. The words were slower than my tears to utter my despair. Then 2 disciples, coming forth, with hurried footsteps sped, till, at the garden sepulchre, they found as I had said. they saw the door-stone rolled away, the empty tomb and wide, the linen face-cloth folded up, and grave-clothes laid aside. The morn was cold, I heeded not, with sorrow wrapped about, till both were gone to tell the rest, I stood and wept without. Then, stooping down and looking in, I saw 2 angels there, whose faces shone with love and joy, and were divinely fair, in white effulgence garmented, that showed the hewn rock's grain. One at the head, one at the feet, sat where my Lord had lain. To look on them I was afraid, their splendor was so great. They said to me, "Why weepest thou?" in tones compassionate. "I weep," I said, "for that my Lord is taken hence away, and that, alas, I do not know where he is laid today." I sadly rose, and turning back, beheld one standing by, and knew the lily of the dawn unfolded in the sky. But in the pale uncertain light, too blind with tears to see, I thought it was the gardener there at the tomb with me. It soothed me much the day before to say it in my mind, that in a garden they had laid the flower of all mankind. Until thy fragrance fell on me, a thrall to sin was I. O flower of peace, O flower of grace, thy love is liberty. But they had taken him away, who is of sin the price. I held the gift that I had brought, a perfume, oil, and spice. I had not stayed to braid my hair, and in the early breeze, the long black lustre, damp with tears, down fluttered to my knees. I dimly saw the gardener, in grief I bowed my head. "Why weepest thou? Whom seekest thou?" he softly, gently said. "O sir, if thou hast borne him hence," I eagerly replied, "tell me where thou hast laid my Lord, whom they have crucified, and I will take him thence away. O tell me where he lies." "Mary," he said. I knew the voice, and turned in glad surprise, for he was not the gardener that I advanced to greet. I cried "Rabboni" joyfully, and knelt at Jesus' feet. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Mummy by Stanton A. Coblentz. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Viewing with curious eyes a mummy case, where slept some old Egyptian king or seer, I longed to learn of him whose mask-like face for generations had been hidden here. I wondered who he was, and wished to know if this cold ruin had been warmed by fame. And as I gazed, a voice rose faint and low, "Perhaps you dwelt yourself within that frame." Glimpses of pyramids and desert sand, and sunlit temples, flashed into my sight, dark slaves that trembled at the least command of tasselled pharaohs throned in glittering might. And look, what well-known figure! Was it I? The mummy blankly stared, and would not make reply. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On Looking Up by Chance at the Constellations by Robert Frost. Read for LibriVox.org by Winston Tharp. You'll wait a long, long time for anything much to happen in heaven beyond the floats of cloud and the northern lights that run like tingling nerves. The sun and moon get crossed, but they never touch, nor strike out fire from each other, nor crash out loud. The planets seem to interfere in their curves, but nothing ever happens, no harm is done. We may as well go patiently on with our life and look elsewhere than to stars and moon and sun for the shocks and changes we need to keep us sane. It is true the longest drought will end in rain, the longest peace in China will end in strife. Still, it wouldn't reward the watcher to stay awake in hopes of seeing the calm of heaven break on his particular time and personal site. That calm seems certainly safe to last tonight. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
On Observing a Ruined Gravestone by Stanton A. Coblentz. Read for LibriVox.org by Newgate Novelist. Mute testimonial to man's impotence, frail protest against time and heedless death, thou art as useless as the altars reared to placate gods that are not. Thou art vain as cries of infants calling for the moon. Thou art the last sad, unavailing plaint, raised for the dead by mourners that have died. Thou art the flag that in despair men flaunted, to mark their conquest of the conquering grave. Vain thing, oh thing unutterably vain! How many other statues to their grief men yet unborn shall in succession carve above thy ruins, mockery of life! Thy chiselled marble, crumbled in decay, is dumb forewarning of some far-off time, when earth itself shall roll on dead and cold, and none shall rear a monument for man. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Parasite by Alfred Kranborg. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. Good woman, don't love the man. Love yourself, as you have done so exquisitely before. Like that tortoise-shell cat of yours, washing away the flies, or are they fleas? You've hurt him again? Good! Do it often. No, he'll love you the more, always. Remember how he forgave you the last time, and how he loved you in the forgiving? Give him an adventure in godhood and the higher moralities. Hurt him again? Fine. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Portrait by Joseph Ashby Sterry. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sher. In sunny girlhood's vernal life she caused no small sensation, but now the modest English wife to others leaves flirtation. She's young still, lovely, debonair, although sometimes her features are clouded by a thought of care for those two tiny creatures. Each tiny toddling mottled mite asserts with voice emphatic in lisping accents, might is right. The rule is autocratic. The song becomes that charmed mankind their musical narcotic, and baby lips than love she'll find are even more despotic. Soft lullaby when singing there, and castles ever building, the destiny she'll carve in air, bright with maternal gilding. Young Guy, a clever advocate, so eloquent and able, a powdered wig upon his pate, a coronet for Mabel. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Rag Picker by Francis Shaw. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. The rag picker sits and sorts her rags, silk and homespun and threads of gold, she plucks to pieces and marks with tags, and her eyes are ice and her fingers cold. The rag picker sits in the back of my brain. Keenly she looks me through and through. One flaming shred I have hidden away. She shall not have my love for you. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Read for LibriVox.org by James Evans. The Raven by Edgar Allan Poe. Once upon a midnight dreary, while I pondered weak and weary over many quaint and curious volume of forgotten lore, while I nodded nearly napping, suddenly there came a tapping, as of someone gently rapping at my chamber door. "'Tis some visitor," I muttered, tapping at my chamber door. Only this, and nothing more. Distinctly I remember it was in the bleak December, and each separate dying ember wrought its ghost upon the floor. Eagerly I wished the morrow, vainly I had sought to borrow from some book surcease of sorrow, sorrow for the lost Lenore, for the rare and radiant maiden, whom the angels named Lenore, nameless here forevermore. And the silken, sad, uncertain rustling of each purple curtain thrilled me, filled me with fantastical terrors never felt before, so that now, to still the beating of my heart, I stood repeating, "'Tis some visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door, some late visitor entreating entrance at my chamber door. This it is, and nothing more." Presently my soul grew stronger, hesitating then no longer. "Sir," I said, "or madam, truly your forgiveness I implore. But the fact is I was napping, and so gently you came rapping, and so faintly you came tapping at my chamber door, that I scarce was sure I heard you. Here I open wide the door. Darkness there, and nothing more." Deep into the darkness peering, long I stood there wondering, fearing, doubting, dreaming dreams no mortal ever dared to dream before. But the silence was unbroken, and the stillness gave no token, and the only word there spoken was the whispered word, "Lenore." This I whispered, and echo murmured back the word Lenore. Merely this, and nothing more. Back into the chamber turning, all my soul within me burning, soon again I heard a tapping somewhat louder than before. "Surely," I said, "surely that is something at my window lattice. Let me see then what thereat is, and this mystery explore. Let my heart be still a moment, and this mystery explore. 'Tis the wind, and nothing more." Open here I flung the shutter, when, with many a flirt and flutter, in there stepped a stately raven of the saintly days of yore. Not the least obeisant made he, not a minute stopped or stayed he, but with a mien of lord or lady perched above my chamber door, perched upon a bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, perched and sat, and nothing more. Then this ebony bird of guiling sat my sad fancy into smiling, by the grave and stern decorum of the countenance it wore. "Though thy crest be shorn and shaven, thou," I said, "art sure no craven, ghastly grim and ancient raven, wandering from the nightly shore. Tell me what thy lordly name is on the night's Plutonian shore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." Much I marvelled this ungainly fowl to hear discourse so plainly, though its answer little meaning, little relevancy bore. For we cannot help agreeing that no living human being ever yet was blessed with seeing bird above his chamber door, bird or beast upon the sculptured bust above his chamber door, with such a name as Nevermore. But the raven, sitting lonely on the placid bust, spoke only that one word, as if his soul in that one word he did outpour. Nothing farther then he uttered, not a feather then he fluttered, till I scarcely more than muttered, "Other friends have flown before. On the morrow he will leave me, as my hopes have flown before." Then the bird said, "Nevermore." Startled at the stillness broken by reply so aptly spoken, "Doubtless," said I, "what it utters is its only stock and store, caught from some unhappy master, whom unmerciful disaster followed fast and followed faster, till his songs one burden bore, till the dirges of his hope that melancholy burden bore, of never, nevermore." But the raven, still beguiling all my fancy into smiling, Straight I wheeled a cushioned seat in front of the bird and bustling door. Then upon the velvet sinking I betook myself to linking fancy unto fancy, thinking that this ominous bird of yore, what this grim, ungainly, ghastly, gaunt, and ominous bird of yore meant in croaking, nevermore. This I sat engaged in guessing, but no syllable expressing to the fowl whose fiery eyes now burned into my bosom's core. This and more I sat divining, with my head at ease reclining on the cushion's velvet lining that the lamplight gloated o'er, but whose velvet violet lining with the lamplight gloating o'er she shall press, nevermore. Then, methought, the air grew denser, perfumed from an unseen censer, swung by seraphim whose footfalls tinkled on the tufted floor. "Wretch," I cried, "thy God hath lent thee, but these angels hath sent thee, respite, respite, and nepenthe for thy memories of Lenore. Quaff, oh quaff this kind nepenthe, and forget this lost Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," I said, "thing of evil, prophet still if bird or devil, whether tempter sent or whether tempest tossed thee here ashore, desolate yet all undaunted, on this desert land enchanted, on this home by horror haunted, tell me truly, I implore, is there balm in Gilead? Tell me, I implore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Prophet," I said, "thing of evil, prophet still of bird or devil, by that heaven that bends above us, by that God we both adore, tell this soul with sorrow laden, if within the distant Aidenn it shall clasp a sainted maiden whom the angels named Lenore. Clasp a rare and radiant maiden whom the angels named Lenore." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." "Be that word our sign of parting, bird or fiend," I shrieked, upstarting, "get thee back into thy tempest and the night's Plutonian shore. Leave no black plume as a token of that lie thy soul hath spoken. Leave my loneliness unbroken, quit the bust above my door, take thy beak from out my heart, and take thy form from off my door." Quoth the raven, "Nevermore." And the raven, never flitting, still is sitting on the pallid bust of Pallas just above my chamber door, and his eyes have all the seeming of a demon's that is dreaming, and the lamplight o'er him streaming throws his shadow on the floor, and my soul from out that shadow that lies floating on the floor shall be lifted nevermore. End of poem. This poem is in the public domain.
The Rolling English Road by G.K. Chesterton. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. Before the Roman came to Rye or out to Severn strode, the rolling English drunkard made the rolling English road. A reeling road, a rolling road that rambles round the shire, and after him the parson ran, the sexton and the squire. A merry road, a mazy road, and such as we did tread, the night we went to Birmingham by way of Beachy Head. I knew no harm of Bonaparte, and plenty of the squire, and for to fight the Frenchmen I did not much desire. But I did bash their bagonets because they came arrayed to straighten out the crooked road an English drunkard made. Where you and I went down the lane with ale mugs in our hands, the night we went to Glastonbury by way of Goodwin Sands. His sins they were forgiven him, or why do flowers run behind him, and the hedges all strengthening in the sun? The wild thing went from left to right and knew not which was which, but the wild rose was above him when they found him in the ditch. God pardon us, nor harden us, we did not see so clear, the night we went to Bannockburn by way of Brighton Pier. My friends, we will not go again, or ape an ancient rage, or stretch the folly of our youth to be the shame of age, but walk with clearer eyes and ears this path that wandereth, and see undrugged in evening light the decent inn of death. For there is good news yet to hear, and fine things to be seen, before we go to Paradise by way of Kensal Green.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Sing Me the Songs I Love by John Reed. Read for LibriVox.org by Patrick Randall. Sing me the songs I love once more, the songs your lips have made so dear, for many a day must pass before again your music fills my ear. And when you are no longer near, I'll in my loneliness rejoice, deep in my inmost heart to hear the gentle music of your voice. 'Tis not in words that friendship lies, e'en when those words in music move, but words have power that never dies when said or sung by those we love. So when in weariness I rove through the world's desert seeking rest, the memory of your songs shall prove a solace to my lonely breast. And when you sing those songs again for gayer hearts and brighter eyes, and thinking upon now as then memories of other days arise, believe that none more dearly prize the strains your lips so sweetly pour than he who asked 'neath other skies, "Sing me the songs I love once more." End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Slave by James Oppenheim. Read for LibriVox.org by M. Lee. They set the slave free, striking off his chains. Then he was as much of a slave as ever. He was still chained to servility. He was still manacled to indolence and sloth. He was still bound by fear and superstition, by ignorance, suspicion, and savagery. His slavery was not in the chains, but in himself. They can only set free men free, and there is no need of that. Free men set themselves free. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Song Against Grocers by G.K. Chesterton. Read for LibriVox.org by Bruce Kachuk. God made the wicked grocer for a mystery and a sign, that men might shun the awful shops and go to inns to dine, where the bacon's on the rafter and the wine is in the wood, and God that made good laughter has seen that they are good. The evil-hearted grocer would call his mother ma'am, and bow at her and bob at her aged soul to damn, and rub his horrid hands and ask what article was next, though mortis in articulo should be her proper text. His props are not his children, but pert lads underpaid, who call out cash and bang about to work his wicked trade. He keeps a lady in a cage most cruelly all day, and makes her count and calls her miss until she fades away. The righteous minds of innkeepers induce them now and then to crack a bottle with a friend or treat unmoneyed men. But who hath seen the grocer treat housemaids to his teas, or crack a bottle of fish sauce, or stand a man a cheese? He sells us sands of Araby as sugar for cash down. He sweeps his shop and sells the dust, the purest salt in town. He crams with cans of poisoned meat poor subjects of the king, and when they die by thousands, why, he laughs like anything. The wicked grocer grosses in spirits and in wine, not frankly and in fellowship, as men in inns do dine, but packed with soap and sardines, and carried off by grooms, for to be snatched by duchesses, and drunk in dressing rooms. The hell-instructed grocer has a temple made of tin, and the ruin of good innkeepers is loudly urged therein. But now the sands are running out from sugar of a sort, the grocer trembles for his time, just like his weight is short.
End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
The Song of Wandering Angus by William Butler Yeats. Read for LibriVox.org by Brigham Talbot. I went out to the hazel wood because a fire was in my head, and cut and peeled a hazel wand, and hooked a berry to a thread. And when white moths were on the wing, and moth-like stars were flickering out, I dropped the berry in a stream, and caught a little silver trout. When I had laid it on the floor, I went to blow the fire aflame, but something rustled on the floor, and someone called me by my name. It had become a glimmering girl, with apple blossom in her hair, who called me by my name and ran, and faded through the brightening air. Though I am old with wandering through hollow lands and hilly lands, I will find out where she has gone, and kiss her lips and take her hands, and walk among long dappled grass, and pluck till time and times are done, the silver apples of the moon, the golden apples of the sun. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
Twilight at Sea by Amelia C. Welby. Read for LibriVox.org by Ike Sher. The twilight hours like birds flew by, as lightly and as free. 10,000 stars were in the sky, 10,000 on the sea. For every wave, with dimpled face that leaped upon the air, had caught a star in its embrace, and held it trembling there. End of poem. This recording is in the public domain.
A Very Short Song by Dorothy Parker. Read for LibriVox.org by Roger Smith. A very short song. Once when I was young and true, someone left me sad, broke my brittle heart in two, and that is very bad. Love is for unlucky folk, love is but a curse. Once there was a heart I broke, and that I think is worse. End of recording. This recording is in the public domain.
Which Are You? By Ella Wheeler Wilcox. Read for LibriVox by Maureen Peart. There are two kinds of people on earth today. Just two kinds of people. No more I say. Not the sinner and saint, for it's well understood. The good are half bad, and the bad are half good. Not the rich and the poor, for to rate a man's wealth, you must first know the state of his conscience and health. Not the humble and proud, for in life's little span, who puts on vain airs is not counted a man. Not the happy and sad, for the swift flying years bring each man his laughter and each man his tears. No. The two kinds of people on earth I mean are the people who lift and the people who lean. Wherever you go, you will find the Earth's masses are always divided in just these two classes. And oddly enough, you will find too, I ween, there's only one lifter to 20 who lean. In which class are you? Are you easing the load of overtaxed lifters who toil down the road? Or are you a leaner who lets others share your portion of labor and worry and care? End of poem. This poem is in the public domain.